Hi, my name is James Shepard, owner of Multi-Merchant Processing, an agent of North American Bank Card. When I registered this domain name, www.durbinamendment.us, I decided that probably it would be a good idea if I read the Durbin Amendment. Just makes sense. I don't know about you, but it always really frustrates me when someone pretends to be an expert on something, and then you find out they haven't even read it. So I did read the Durbin Amendment. Believe me, it was not the most exciting thing I've ever read. It was very boring, and as most congressional documents are. But anyway, I did read it, and this video, to be honest, if you're a business owner, I don't know you even really want to watch this video. It is very detailed. This is all the stuff I didn't cover in the other videos. The other videos that I made, and the blog articles and all that, and the website, they'll give you all the information you need to save money on the Durbin Amendment and take advantage of it. But if you want to know some more details about it, then keep on watching, that's fine. If you're a sales agent for another processor and you would like to get in on the Durbin Amendment and you would like to save your customers money, and you would like to present them with something that's more legitimate, and you'd like to give them an honest deal, and keep your customers for a very long time, you can click on Careers up at the top, but definitely watch this video as I'm going to cover some of the details as we know about the Durbin Amendment. Keep in mind, obviously this is time sensitive. In other words, they might change some things here in the next few weeks and months before October 1st, but as I understand it today, which is September 15th, this is what it is. I'm sorry, July 15th. July 15th, 2011 is what day I'm looking at right now. So this is the Durbin Amendment details I didn't cover before. A couple things. Number one, the Durbin Amendment, as we talked about, does cap what the bank is allowed to charge the processor at 21 cents plus 0.05%. Okay, so on a $100 transaction, they can charge 0.05%, which would be a nickel, plus 21-cent transaction fee, which is 26 cents. Now, there's also a very weird thing floating around where if they comply with the law in a certain way, they're also allowed to charge an extra penny. So they'd be able to charge 22 cents instead of 21 cents. What that's all about, honestly, I read it and I still don't understand it. It's really weird. But anyway, it sounds to me like pretty much most of these larger banks are going to be able to do that, and they're going to be charging 22 cents plus the 0.05%. That's what the cap is going to be at. So that's number one. That's what it does. A couple things about it, though. It does not distinguish between PIN-based debit or signature debit. So for a long time, there was always this big, confusion among merchants. Should I have a PIN pad or should I not have a PIN pad? And it actually made a very big difference to the cost that you paid. And most merchants did not realize that. Most business owners had no idea, but it actually made a pretty big difference. Now at this point, because they no longer differentiate between those two, it's really not going to make any difference at all as far as your cost, except for whatever the processor charges you. Now that is a little bit different. For instance, with my company, if someone enters their PIN number on the machine, we charge usually a 15-cent transaction fee, but we charge no basis points of markup. So you would just pay a flat 15 cents plus whatever the bank is allowed to charge, the 22 cents and the 0.05%. Whereas with if they swipe the card and they sign it, which is called a signature transaction, then we only charge you an 8-cent transaction fee instead of 15 cents, but we have the 25 basis points of markup, or 0.25% markup. So a little different. The other big difference between those two, if somebody enters their PIN number when they use their debit card, they cannot do a chargeback. In other words, they can't come back to you 3 or 4 months later and say, I didn't agree to pay $1,000. The bank's going to say you entered your PIN number. If you entered your PIN number, it was you, and if it wasn't you, you should not have given somebody your PIN number, and that's your fault, and so you're not going to get your money back. Now, if they swipe their card, they have 18 months through Visa and MasterCard label. They have 18 months to come back and say, I never agreed to that, I never authorized it, and now it's going to be up to you, the business owner, to prove that that transaction is legitimate. So that's the difference between the PIN-based debit and signature. As of right now, as far as interchange fees, there's no difference under the Durbin Amendment at this point. A couple other things I want to cover briefly, some details about the Durbin Amendment that are important. Number one, it goes into effect on October 1st, 2011. Number two, the Durbin Amendment gives zero guidance on how to implement the pricing. So it's going to be a mess. The banks, the debit networks and so forth, they have to figure out how to change their pricing. Now, it's important to understand, it doesn't say you have to charge 21 or 22 cents plus 0.05%. It doesn't say that. It says that's the most you can charge. So what are the debit networks going to do for a $10 transaction? That would normally not be 22 cents plus 0.05. So are they going to charge less for that? I don't know. Or are they just going to do it flat across the board and get as much money as they possibly can, considering all the revenue they just lost? I don't know. And so because of the fact that they did not give any guidance on that, I'll keep you updated with blog articles, keep following the blog. But I don't know what they're going to do with that. So because of that, it really left the processors in a bad spot, because the processors don't know exactly how the pricing is going to change. They don't know exactly what's going to happen. So they are kind of stuck because they can't really adjust their pricing platforms yet until they know what's going on. Until they find out what the costs are really going to be, they can't really make an informed decision. So that's a little scary for consumers. That's one of the reasons why I made this website, was to help consumers now to go ahead and switch to Interchange Plus pricing, so they won't have to worry about all that. Whatever happens, it's going to pass through to the business owner on Interchange Plus pricing. But I really don't know what's going to happen with that. And again, they also gave no guidance whatsoever to processors and how they are supposed to pass on these savings, or if they're going to pass on these savings to business owners. Now, a couple other things about it. The Durbin Amendment only applies to banks and debit networks whose combined network assets equals $10 billion or more. So you would think, wow, well, there must be a lot of networks that don't qualify to that. Actually, there are only 12 banks, networks, we would say, that qualify, that have $10 billion or more in assets. Okay, so only 12 banks or 12 networks are going to be affected by the Durbin Amendment. The kicker is those 12 banks control 75% of the market. Okay, so just so you understand, the Durbin Amendment will not affect every single check and debit card transaction that takes place in your business. It's only going to affect the ones that are on those 12 major networks, but again, that's 75% of the transactions, so it will have a major impact. But again, there we have another problem where tiered pricing for processors, it's going to be a mess. I mean, how do they price that? Because you might have a merchant where maybe they're in a certain market where the smaller network that doesn't have 10 billion in assets has really got a stronghold there, and so this merchant is going to continue to pay the higher interchange fees on those transactions. But how do you price that on tiered pricing? If you lower the rate down, it could end up being a loss for the processor on tiered pricing. They're going to have no way to know, because it put a lot of guesswork into the interchange fees, which before this they were all set. So it's kind of confusing. Again, another reason to be on Interchange Plus pricing, because you don't want to have to worry about that. But I can tell you what the processors are going to do. They're going to cover their risk, and so they're going to price you a little higher if you're on tiered pricing, because no matter what the interchange fees are, they have to charge you what they agreed to. And if you get a lot of the smaller network cards in there, all of a sudden the processor's losing money hand over fist, and they're not going to allow that to happen. So they're going to cover themselves by adding a little buffer zone to the pricing. So that adds a lot of uncertainty to it, which really the whole Durbin Amendment, to be honest with you, is a lot of uncertainty. They really didn't do a good job of implementation. They kind of said, we think this is a great idea, and then they made 3 or 4 major concessions, and then they just put the bill in, and they thought, well, I guess somebody will implement this, and they really didn't think through that too carefully, obviously, since 80% of all the merchants out there that are small business owners are on tiered pricing, and the Durbin Amendment, as far as the law goes, the Durbin Amendment has 0 effect on those businesses. It just affects the interchange fees. That's a couple just details about the Durbin Amendment. Again, if you have any questions on it, I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. I'm not going to get into all the minutiae and details of it, but if you have a question, feel free to call me. If you're an agent and you're looking to possibly start a different career with North American Bank Card, you'd like to be an independent agent, or you'd like to pass these savings on to your merchants and you're worried about what your processors are going to do about it, give me a call. I'd love to chat with you. My phone number is 814-515-9526. You can also email me at the email address listed below, or fill out the contact form, and in the notes section just put whatever it is, if you're a customer or if you'd like to become an agent, and I'd be happy to talk with you and speak with you further about that. Thank you so much for watching. Man, I hope this has been informative. I enjoyed making the videos. I enjoyed researching it. Reading the Durbin Amendment, not my favorite thing, but I did it because I wanted to help educate the business owners out there on the Durbin Amendment, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. Again, my name is James Shepard. Have a wonderful day.